change things a whole lot as they are currently.
Yeah, because, I mean, as the professor said, I mean, oftentimes conservatives prefer to live in more rural type areas, less urban, and so that kind of contributes to the shapes of our districts and the makeup. So
Yeah.
Did the little picture that I had on the Google Drive help with understanding how gerrymandering works?
I actually didn't see it. Let me go check.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll talk about it more once. But it seems like majority of people are here, so I'm gonna just share the screen. But if you want, you can open up the Political Party Study Guide 1. I wanted to go through that. So yeah. But I do know that some people that wrote it aren't here, so we'll see how that goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, so we were able to get through kind of the definitions and everything. Did we really go over question 17? Because I think Amber kind of thoroughly read it, but that was about it.
I wasn't there. I don't remember.
Yeah. So I think we'll just start from 17 and move on from there. Does that sound good to everyone?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So in the past, critics frequently charged that there are very few differences between the two major parties. Is that true today? And so, Andrea, were you partnered with Amber for this section?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And so, did she write this one? Or okay. So I'll read her answer, and you guys can kind of either say yay or nay, and if you want to add anything else. So she thinks that it's not true. Republicans believe in lower taxes, individual rights, increased military spending, and abortion should be illegal. They support more capitalist private health care and against amnesty for undocumented immigrants. Democrats believe in higher minimum wage, progressive taxation, community and social responsibility, decreasing military spending, and abortion should remain legal. Government regulation, universal health care, other offer illegal immigrants a pathway to citizenship. Support of the death penalty or gay marriage can be accepted or rejected by both sides. So, in here she does kind of make it clear that they do have different stances. And do we see all members of those parties following those beliefs, those party lines?
Well, doesn't this kind of correlate to the polarization?
Mm-hmm.
So there might be a few who are still moderate, both parties, but I think in general we can say that, yeah, a lot of them do have very different ideas.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there wouldn't be two different parties if they were exactly the same.
Right.
We would be more like our sub-parties that we have within those two parties.
Right.
Like the Tea Party being under the Republican Party. So apparently they go by a different name nowadays, I guess. So
I did have a quick question, and this might be good or a better topic brought up in class, since we're on polarization.
Yeah.
But I was wondering what really sparked this polarization. I would think initially that it would be the topics that we're discussing currently. It's a lot of very I guess, moral-driven discussions, right? Such as abortion, death penalty, you know, affirmative action, all that stuff. And so, you know, you're going to have some parties who are trying to hold on to the way it was done prior, the way they're used to, and to uphold tradition, you know, and some people who are going to want to change that. But then I imagine after we get past this and we, you know, as a country decide what we want to stand for, you know, we're going to start having a more of or rather a less polarized system.
So those issues weren't always at the forefront.
Right.
And majority of them were considered taboo to talk about. And so now that they're popping up more, and now we're getting more into these kind of moral arguments and deciding if that is the government's place to rule upon these, that's where people are can have stronger ideas and stronger viewpoints as far as these go, and can be less prone to changing their minds about it, even if presented with certain facts, because they just morally feel what they feel.
Mm.
And it also doesn't help that politicians have taken advantage of the fact that this these moral questions do create such stark differences between people, and they play upon those, and they say, and what we've been seeing more often, even more so now, is that we're starting to see a demonization of the people who don't believe in that certain thing. Let's say it was abortion. I mean, though actually really that one has always been, but that's how polarization gets farther.
Right.
It becomes a demonizing of the other, and that there can't be some sort of consensus made, some sort of middle ground.
Yeah.
And I think just that whole idea of winning and wanting to be the winner,
Mm-hmm.
rather than actually caring about the actual issue or the actual constituents that these people are representing.
Right.
They care about winning.
Well, and staying in power.
Mm-hmm.
Or winning it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I don't know, that's kind of how I see it. But I think it definitely would be an interesting question to bring up in class. I don't know if anybody else has something they'd like to say about this. I definitely welcome your input. Because it doesn't need to be an A and B conversation. You all are here. You don't need to see yourself out. But yeah, that's kind of my perspective.
I didn't mean to derail the conversation of the original study guide, though.
No, it's fine, because I mean it is relevant, because our political parties, the two main ones, are polarized, and that's one way that we see them, and we see who they represent as well.
Right.
And it actually really it does bring a kind of good segue into, should voters support a third party that has no chance of winning, but has the exact same views as them, rather than compromising for let's say, a major party candidate that they dislike less, that doesn't have the exact type of views.
Mm.
And so, and Amber here said that she believes that voters shouldn't support a third party because a third party winning is very unlikely. Yes, they should pick a major party candidate they like less because then at least they'll get more of a say on who becomes president. And so I'm going to kind of open this up to you guys and see if you guys believe the same as Amber, or do you believe differently?
I agree with him.
You agree, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, if you choose third party, your voice isn't really gonna. I know you want to vote for what you want to vote for, but your voice isn't gonna be heard because third parties really have low chances of winning. And at least this way, you'll have some type of say in there.
I second that.
That's how I feel, and I agree with Andy.
Yeah. And also, as we saw in this last election, third party candidates lead off the support that would have gone to a major party candidate and would have contributed to their win. And we've seen this historically as well as this previous election. And so it's very conflicting because as much as we want to be like, okay, yeah, we want to vote for the person that shows our ideals and this can be more of a symbolic kind of vote.
So I think a third party can win. It's just more on the lines of money.
Yeah.
And the money gets them the popularity of the commercials, the celebrities. So yeah, I just think it's the money factor.
Yeah, and actually, I would kind of want to incorporate both ideas because that's what we've seen in this last election. Because as kind of the professor has said and we've talked about, Trump isn't a traditional Republican. He's kind of his own party, but he did a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, kind of making it into his third party because he had that monetary influence that kind of Jordan mentioned. And I would say Bernie Sanders did the same thing through social media and the raising of funds on the Democratic side because he was actually more of a democratic socialist rather than a party member of the Democratic Party. So he kind of brought his third party in and used the traditional system of the two-party to get third-party views. And so I don't know what you think about that, Jordan.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. Is that he had nothing to do with politics and put his money into it and persuaded some people with some of the stuff he said and pissed some people off, and that got him attention on social media. And that just led him to where he is now.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting seeing the way that kind of third parties are evolving and learning how to work the system, it seems like. Because it seems like they didn't really know how, and they were trying to still win by being third parties rather than real. Because actually, when you look at political science, the way that our electoral system is set up is that it is more inclined to a two-party system where only one of the two will win.
Right.
And
so I think also is that like he's a smart guy, and triggering the fact that going towards the eastern side of United States and going towards the race side and saying grab her by the pussy and all this stuff. And so he triggered a lot of people saying that stuff. But then I also think that maybe in 2020 when Kanye maybe decides, to run for president, he's going to do that and triggering the young people, or not triggering them, but getting them to vote because he's well known in the young community. He's an African guy. So he's going to have that community voting for him as well. And so all it is about popularity and money. So he already has that. And so I think he has a well chance for going for president,
That would be, yeah. I mean, because he does have those influences. And I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Because I'm kind of like, yeah. I mean, he does have those influences. What do you guys think? Kanye 2020. Joanna, you're shaking your head.
It's kind of a scary thing, I guess.
It does sound scary. I think that he would win popularity because of what he's done, but as far as actually being president, yeah, no. Like Trump is having already a difficult time because he realized how much he has to do and all this paperwork and all that
so
stuff.
Complicated.
Yeah, so I don't think that he can do it right now.
And he has said that about both healthcare and the law. Who knew it would be so complicated?
Gosh.
Maybe everybody who was yelling at you the last year and a half.
Yeah. Those of us with common sense who aren't, even government majors.
Yeah. It's like, healthcare is complicated. Everybody knows that. It's like saying, it's not rocket science. Like,
you know it, I know it, everyone knows it.
Yep. But yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see if Kanye knows how to work the system, just like Trump did.
It's kind of scary that it's possible,
It is.
given with what, the way everything works, it's very, as he was saying, it's very possible. It's just a matter of, I guess, what do people care about? And
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure about everybody or how well this could extend to, but I mean, I feel like with the advent of technology, internet, and instantaneous gratification, and the amount of entertainment out there, our generation is becoming less and less interested in politics because there's so much more available. And having not reached the stage of my life where I'm going to start saying, oh well, let's start getting serious about my I guess political education and everything, right? I don't fit into some of those higher aged brackets, I guess is the easiest way of describing that. I don't know, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that Kanye could get a lot of people of our generation to vote for him simply because of the dynamic.
And there's and you said something very, kind of, I think, important. You said, I'm not of the age that I want to get serious with my political knowledge.
Right.
And I think that's true of many of us, of our generation. And I mean, just young people in general, is that we think that we need to have a house and family and kids to care about politics.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, because that's what it sounds like, and that's what I think that some of us think is like, oh yeah, no, I don't need to, it's not my job to pay attention to politics until I'm a fully tax-paying member of society. Even if we're working our retail jobs and stuff like that along with college, and I mean, fact that we have college as and that's what we're focusing on learning in our specific professions.
I found out a couple of days ago that some colleges don't even have to take government classes, a GE course.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Was that
San
private
Diego
college?
State.
Oh, it was a CSU.
Yeah,
Interesting. Because that was your friend that was staying over, right?
right.
Yeah. And so that kind of contributes to the lack of.
Yeah, she didn't know anything.
Were you trying to talk to her about our class or something?
I was explaining to it, but she didn't understand much of it. So, I mean, she understands like judicial, all the branches and all that.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand the stuff that's going on today.
And it's interesting, I don't know, like the fact in high school that we only have like a semester of civics and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like a semester of economics, even though those are the things that we need to know to be adults. And
Right.
it's macroeconomics, not like microeconomics, which are the things that we have to actually need to know, like balancing a checkbook and whatnot.
Yeah. And even if we know better, like I know logically that it is wiser to probably spend more of my time on learning about these, topics. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and do it.
Yeah, because I mean, there's only so many hours in the day.
I'm only 24 once.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, and it's how do we manage that so that we can still be aware and affect our lives, but not have to take a huge chunk of time of our lives. Because, I mean, time is such a precious thing, and we have so little of it.
Mm.
And I mean, even as we're young, it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but it's like, it's the conundrum of political efficacy of our generation,
Right. And I think we have to look at some other countries like models to see if there's a way to do a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, actually, when we get onto the election study guide, we'll kind of see that, I mean, really, it's not easy for us to go and vote. It's not like election day is a national or state holiday. It's on a Tuesday when we're working.
Yeah, that tradition needs to be changed.
I mean, some people, like some countries, they give a tiny stipend to their citizens for voting as an incentive. And I mean, but it's like, and then that comes the question of like, should we be paying people to vote? And like, will they actually research and pay attention, or will they just vote? So
I don't feel like everyone should get a stipend. I think everyone should, or every person who's running should actually do what they say when they say it before they run, because most of them don't actually follow out with everything they say.
Yeah, and we know that. We're raised knowing that even if we vote, it's not like the politicians are going to carry out what they promise on the campaign trail.
That's actually interesting there, Jordan. Like the concept of having them submit a plan, submit their, and that would be daunting with the amount of expense. But I mean, instead of turning this into another beauty pageant, for us to watch them
Right.
spend so much time blaming each other and
it's a circus, really.
Right. Maybe just spend all that money on researching what their plan is going to be on these various hot topics, and then publish those and be like, hey, here's why you should vote for me. Right.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And like actually publishing it in a way that the common citizen can read and understand what they're talking about.
Sure.
And not like using the jargon.
Like a talent show.
Yeah.
Pretty reminds me of.
And you know what? I think that they should have. I think that if you're gonna run for president, you should have to pass a citizenship test. I think
Yeah.
that's very. I mean, if people coming into this country need to pass this, should the leader be able to pass it and like their scores be published?
Mhm.
Right.
Like, how well do you know America? Can you actually run it? Do you know how to pass a bill? What does our Constitution say, Mr. Trump?
I bet you he'd fail that test.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote about this a while back about how, I'm an engineering major, and
Yeah.
they require us to go through a PE test, or practical professional engineering licensing exam, before we can start stamping stuff and putting our names and say, hey, I certify this. I use my skills to say, yes, I've looked this over.
Yeah.
And I mean, they do that because people's lives are at stake when somebody builds a bridge, right?
Right.
So they say, okay, here's this person. He's, and he's putting his entire reputation on the line. If he messes this up, it's not going to reflect well. So he's well obligated to making sure it's correct and going to work.
Yeah.
Now, where that breaks down for the political side is where you say, okay, who's to say what's actually right? Because a while ago, personally, I felt like healthcare should be completely private sector. But then after seeing the Affordable Health Care Act in action, I've changed my view. So it's like, how do you, who gauges whether it's working or not? And so you can't really, I guess, have that same standard. But they should at least, as you're saying, be tested.
I think what you said is you're putting on your stamp on you're putting your reputation on the line because what you're doing affects the lives of other people,
Mhm.
and is a matter of life and death. And I think politicians should actually should have that awareness that their job is a matter of life and death for all Americans.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right, we should write that up and send it to the White House.
yep. Hey guys, we have it recorded here. It's on YouTube. It's gonna be on YouTube.
Boom.
That's true. That's true.
And that's kind of the nice thing about that's what I do really appreciate about like this kind of function. That it's cool that we are able to record these discussions and everything. And I love hearing all your guys' thoughts. But yeah, so I would love to continue this more, but we should probably it's 6:30. So
Right.
I'm gonna ask you guys what you would prefer to do. Would you prefer to finish going through kind of let's really the articles that you guys were given for reading, or would you prefer to go over last Thursday and Tuesday's lectures?
For the test tomorrow, it might be prudent to go over the lectures.
Okay, let's do lectures then. So we'll leave this. And so, do you guys still want to go over this? Let's say on Tuesday we really gotta move on. So I think
we could go through this real quick. I mean, it's.
I think really we just need to talk about. Well, actually, this is part of what he talked about in class was
Right.
the new map of American politics and the Battle of the Burbs and Marietta. So, did you guys get a chance to go over those articles? Because I do have a feeling that he will ask about these because when he asked about them in class, people were blinking and were like, "Yeah, I didn't read that." And these are two articles that he usually really focuses on.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you guys remember what he was talking about as far as Olathe, Kansas?
Yeah, that's kind of where he linked that right into the topic of the city expanding outwards, and then people start homeschooling their kids
Yeah, 'cause that
to
had to do
maintain
with,
their own values.
yeah, and that had to do with the party polarization, correct?
Hmm.
It all connects.
Right.
Sorry. But yeah, and so they started homeschooling their kids, as you said, and it became like what was just a bedroom community for Kansas City. People are actually just staying there, not really affiliating with the larger city. And can you explain more, a bit more in detail why their values were, let's say, different than those of citizens of Kansas City?
Well, I feel like the people who had originally lived out in the rural areas, moved out there to get away from a city mentality. But when the city reached them, they didn't want to change for it, and so now you have these pocket communities within this city that want to hold on to their own values.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that answers what you're asking, though.
I think it does.
Kinda.
Like, because I mean, we as humans, we like living with people we like living with like-minded individuals. We're happier that way.
Right.
Because it means that we're not constantly competing thought,
Yeah.
agreeing on things is nice.
Right. And so then Olathe as a community just kind of came together and supported that like-mindedness
Yeah.
so that they had a place where they can be happy rather than having to move again.
And so, and as far as this article, like, so I forgot who answered this question, because I'm going to ask number 4. So why does the author believe such changes kind of ended up creating the Christian right movement? And that's what we're seeing. That's the kind of more moralistic Republican values that we. So that was kind of a convoluted question. So.
Well, it has to do with the churches, right?
Yeah, I would say. So explain that a bit more, Brian.
I mean, you can't give up your religion so easily or even try and bend it. And, I have somebody who is a friend of mine who is very evangelical, I guess, where he believes very strongly in those values. And, whereas I, being a Christian, he calls me a notional Christian, meaning that I'm sure I believe in the faith, but do I, really uphold and research all the tenets that it involves? Do I really know what it all means?
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps I don't. Maybe I need to look into that and see for myself whether that's right for me or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you get these people who are more evangelical and go into these churches, and then, these lines of thought come and start to encroach upon you, and you say, well, now, like, I don't know if I can accept that given what I believe religiously. So, as the churches have always had the power to really bring the people together. And so in Olathe, the churches created this movement, this idea of union and
they're already mobilized because
right.
they're living together.
Right.
And
so,
and we see that with the Catholic Church as well. The Pope makes public statements as far as what the Catholic Church supports or not. Contraceptives are still a no-no.
Right.
As far as I know. As progressive as this new Pope is, he is still. There are certain lines that the Catholic Church does not cross.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by the churches starting to get themselves into politics, they're getting their their followers, their believers, into those arguments as well, thus kind of bringing in Christian movement into, or whatever belief it is, into politics,
Mhm.
which is contradictory towards the secular mantra of the U.S. So.
Yeah.
And then so in GOP they trust. What was Murrieta, California? Somebody describe that town to me.
Wasn't it like in the suburbs, and it was I don't want, was it white people?
Yeah.
And the reason why it was kind of like the other article where they were trying to make a community of like in a big city of conservative Republicans.
Yeah, and they were actually more of in a rural area of California. I actually wonder where. Let's see where Murrieta is. I think it actually is like northern, and so like you said, they're kind of a California version of the Olathe, Kansas. Let us see.
76 degrees, not too bad.
Yeah.
Where's this relative to Sacramento?
I gotta zoom out.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, it's actually pretty.
That's next to Riverside.
Oh, okay. So it's right outside of Los Angeles, and
Okay.
so kind of more in like, it looked like it was more in like the San Bernardino area. Yeah, Riverside, San Bernardino. And so this is actually considered a more conservative area because of its connections to whatchamacallit. There used to be a naval base over here, and then of course farther down in San Diego. And so you have veterans and you have active duty members living in these areas. And oftentimes, what are their political views?
Don't they usually align with the Republicans since they support like military funding and all that?
Mm-hmm. And supporting military funding means supporting the Veterans Affairs, including the hospitals and the grants that allow them to go to college and whatnot. And so, that's kind of Murrieta in itself. And in these because there was a couple of actual interviews with the people who are living there. Do you remember that, Andrea?
Yep.
And would you mind sharing?
Well, I took notes on them,
Yeah.
and there's this one comment that really like irked me, and it just, I don't know, it just seems so ignorant, and I don't want to be mean, but stupid. And it reminded me a lot of the excuses the colonizers used to use with the Native Americans. So let me see where I have it. One of the people they interview actually said that immigrants bring diseases and that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. For me, it was just kind of like a show of what their mentality is and what kind of world they live in to still think that like primitive, in my opinion. So yeah, that really irked me. And for the most part, one thing that they mentioned was how they listen to like religious or like Christian radio shows on their way to work because they commute.
Yeah.
And how because of that it kind of strengthens their conservative views and values. What else? Yeah,
Yeah.
much stuff, but
And so, like, being in those communities kind of reinforce that and everything, and it's interesting. Well, I mean, I would say that I'm not unfamiliar with this in California as well. I don't know, because is a majority of you guys from the Sacramento area?
No.
Oh, okay. Would you guys mind refreshing me from like where you guys are from?
Like born or lived?
Well, where did you live for the most part, like as far as California goes?
Like Bay Area.
Okay. And then Amber, you said Bay Area as well?
Yeah, but I wasn't born there. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. So I only lived there for like 4 years.
Okay.
But I was born in Arkansas.
Oh, interesting. Nice. How long did you live there?
Like 3 months.
Yep, you're definitely a military baby.
What branch?
He was in the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. And how about you, Andrea? Where are you from?
the Monterey area. It's more like towards the Central Valley.
Okay, yeah. Brian, are you from around here or?
I was actually born in Murrieta, so those are my people you're talking about. I'm just
I
kidding.
know you're being facetious. I'm just like, nope, this little butt. I know your type of humor now.
I know. I'm from Livermore originally.
Okay, cool. Joanna, where are you from? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Modesto. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Joseph?
I'm from Sacramento.
Okay, nice. So we do have one Sacramento native here.
Sweet.
I am from the Central Valley, like San Joaquin, Fresno, Bakersfield area. And if you guys know anything about that, it's all agriculture, pretty much.
Right.
I mean, it's instead of flyover country, it's drive-through country for us. You go through there when you're on your way to LA. And like the oranges and everything. And it's funny because I'm actually like an hour away from both of those two cities. And so I'm in the middle of the boonies.
Yep.
And so I would say a majority of like the population there are Latinos and white people who are, mostly actually are Okies. People who came from Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl because of the lack of being able to farm. And so the mix of Catholic values and then redneck values, it's a very conservative area. And so, like, hearing about like Murrieta doesn't surprise me at all, because actually the town that's like 20 minutes next to me, but that's where like some of my high school friends lived in and stuff. It was labeled the most homophobic city in California.
Wow. I would think that'd be Bay Area.
Yeah, no.
Not true. Why would you say that, Jordan?
I guess he didn't hear you, Amber.
Jordan, I said, why do you think that?
What do you mean why I think that?
Why do you think that? Because everyone goes to gay pride. Like, that's like a huge thing.
Oh, did you say homophobic?
Yeah, it's the most
Oh,
homophobic.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
No, Bay Area is like the biggest loving.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the opposite of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And that was very awkward for a bunch of kids of various different sexual orientations.
What city did you say that was?
Porterville?
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys want to see where I'm from?
Yeah.
I know we're totally derailing from our actual stuff, and please,
It's like an icebreaker.
it is an icebreaker because it's telling you guys kind of where I'm from and everything.
Yeah.
And that also reminds me that I didn't set up that little conference thing paper for you guys. I will do that today. But here, I'm actually from Lindsay. This is where I'm from. This is my lovely town. I live on the outskirts of it. As you can see, very large. I went to school in Strathmore. And then Porterville down here is that city, that little city that I was talking about. And yeah, so, and then if we go out a bit more, there's Visalia, and that's where we would go into town to go to Costco and to go to the mall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was the more moderate size place. And then
There's Fresno.
there's Fresno, an hour away. And that's the closest major city. Like, well, I mean, Hanford is also a major city, but it's also an hour away. And then there's Bakersfield right there. So,
And you came up here for government.
yes, because there's no opportunity in the valley unless you want to do agriculture. And so a lot of people, we joke about it, but it is a black hole. People get trapped there. There's a reason why the highest rate of teen pregnancy is in that county that I was in.
Wow.
Because nothing to do and abstinence-only education.
Well, congratulations. You made it out of there.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah,
nice.
definitely crawled out. And I'm still technically in the valley. But yeah, so it's, and I think if we zoom out more, you can kind of see, I think Modesto is like up here. We go a bit. There's like, you hit like the 3M cities. Brian, you raised your hand?
Yeah, sorry. I have to get going, but I did want to have one last question here about that GOP. It seems to me, after another skim of that article, that this is sort of another more local example of Olathe, where the churches kind of started to. I mean, there was one line in there that says like the churches outnumber the bars 15-1, which tells you a little bit about their, So I mean, is
also
this
true for Porterville?
Oh,
There are like 100 different. There are like 50 different churches. Like the churches almost like outnumber the people. It's ridiculous.
so is that
yeah.
Does that article kind of go in the same way as Olathe, or was there a separate message to be found in that one?
Nope, that was exactly what we were going for. Sorry that we got a little derailed with that.
No, I just wanted to see if I got the gist of that one, because it was like a mixture of statistics and like story time, and it didn't mesh well in my mind. So I had a hard time reading that one.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. But so you've taken the right takeaway as
Cool.
far as that goes. And so, as you did point out, it is 6:50. And so, if there are any other, excuse me, if there are any other questions about Tuesday's lecture or Thursdays, I'm more than happy to stick around for you to ask them and for me to answer them. But if you wish to go, you're totally cool to do so. And yeah, I hope to see you guys tomorrow, or if not, Monday.
All right. Thanks for the class.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
See you guys.